The RX 6500 XD has been criticized as being one of the worst graphics card on the market. But how bad is it? Well, we're going to test it by putting this in the computer. But first, we unbox it using a montage. So like and subscribe. So before I review this card, we gotta go over the specs. 6500 XT comes with 4GB of GDDR6 VRAM, has a base clock speed of 2610 MHz and a boost clock speed of 2815. It comes with 16 compute units and 16 array units and has a 64-bit GPU memory bus with speeds up to 144 GB per second at Gen 4 speeds. It has a 107 watt TDP and requires one 6-pin connector. The XFX card that we're using for this test is a dual fan with a length of 23.3 centimeters. So now I'm going to test GPU's overall performance using 3DMark. In the system, we have a Ryzen 5 3600 which is a boost clock speed of 4.2 GHz, 16 GB of 3200 MHz, of course they've run this Pro RAM, B450 motherboard, fans, and an AIL cooling the CPU. That's a 750 watt power supply. So this is a Time Spy, and we're looking at mainly the graphics, the tracing. Well, it looks already. This is the graphics do look okay. There's a bit of like pixely stuttery. It's in 1080p, and we get the results after. Overall, it's looking this good, as if there's a bit of like stuttering. Shaders do look sort of good. You can really tell the pixels. That's because it's 1080p. So not going to really worry too much about that. It seems to run pretty okay. It does look like it's very low frames though. So now it's done. We got a total time to SPY score of 4,069.6. A graphics card score of 4,545. We're mainly looking at the GPU temperature and frequency and all that kind of stuff. GPU temperature was around 40, 50. Mainly peaked around 53, which is good considering it's a dual fan. And we got this thing off, but it looks cooler. Yeah, CPU temperature was okay. GPU temperature was okay. CPU temperature is roughly the same. Frame rate was maxed at like 38, 39. Yeah, and the graphics test 2 was like 30. The GPU frequency peaked at around 2,800 roughly. So overall, it was pretty good. Now I'm going to do Fallout 76 to test the game performance. So now we're in Fallout 76 and we're testing the overall gaming performance. So texture quality is at medium, water quality is at high, lighting quality high, shadow quality ultra, shadow distance high. This is all max settings except for texture because it's only limited 4GB of VRAM. These are all max settings. So now I'm going to head to this train station, which I found was the most laggiest place when I was on ultra settings, and so it's very graphics intensive because of the trees and the grass, and so what I'm mainly looking for is 60 FPS because it claims to be able to run 60 FPS on high settings. That's what we really want to see. So we just load it in. We're hitting around like 40 FPS. And this is very graphics sensitive because of the amount of trees and the amount of grass. But normally when we head inside, graphics seem to get a lot lower. And they look really good. The shading looks really good. You've seen all this stuff. Inside we're at 40 FPS, which is playable if you don't mind like bright frame drops whenever you're in combat. So now we are loading into a toga and we are at 30 FPS, which is half of what we're aiming for. It's sort of playable, you can't really tell because I'm kind of used to it. Playing on GT 1030, this is better than anything. We're in combat now. Oh wait, okay, I found the button, never mind. Yeah, we're around like 30 frames per second in combat. We're getting some spikes, especially during the explosions. So it is playable if you don't like if you don't care about 60 FPS or 30 FPS, what PS4 plays at. Yeah, we're around 32 FPS. GPU temperatures are around like 49. You can hit around 3GB of VRAM. The CPU isn't using a lot. It's not like full usage, which is good. But yeah, this passes for like being able to be playable, not 60 FPS. For 60 FPS, you want to be like indoor places. That's like less graphics intensive. And we're going to head to the Glass Cavern. So Glass Cavern area, we're around like 40 to 45 FPS, which is good and it's playable. We are on 60 now that we're like not really that much graphics here. We're at 60 FPS in the less graphics intensive places. So if you're in like the wilderness area around trees, you are going to experience low frames, simply because of the high textures, and it's limited because of PCIe 3.0. If you play 4.0, frames will obviously be different because you'll be able to transfer textures faster, you have faster transfer rate. So you are able to hit at 60 FPS on low graphic bases, which is good. So this is the biggest indoor place. It's probably the best place we can test for indoors. And we are at 60 FPS inside. We were really looking for frame drops. Yeah, indoors are 60 FPS. It's a good enough graphics card. It's playable. Not recommend spending 320 euros on it, especially if it drops in 70 euro the day after you bought it. Very annoying. Yeah, so it is a playable graphics card. You can play on it. That is if you're not like saying the graphics texture quality all the way to max. It is limited by 4 GB of VRAM. So now I'm going to switch it over to a motherboard that has PCIe 4.0. So now we're testing this card's PCIe 4.0 capabilities. In the system, we have B450, B550. It's a Asus TUF Gaming, Ryzen 7 3700X with the stock cooler, 550 watt power supply, which is enough. All fans is 2 intake, 2 exhaust. Yeah, PCIe 4.0 test. Now we're in 3D Mark, where we're testing Time to Spy. So we're gonna let it run and then check the results at the end. So we're finished with it. We have GPU score 4869, which is better by how much editor put it on the screen. Yeah, it's better because we have 32 GB of RAM, but performance being the PCIe 4.0 and the hardware inside of it was overall better than PCIe 4.0. So I don't think it's by that much. I don't really notice it when I'm playing on my 2.0 motherboard. But yeah, if you have a 4.0 motherboard, then this is a card you might want to get for only gaming. 3D rendering, all that kind of stuff. I won't say it's that good. So now in Forza Horizon 5, and we're looking for 60 FPS. That's me when I'm looking for PCIe 4.0, and these are graphics presets. It's a high preset. And we're doing a built-in benchmarking mode, which we are going to set now. It will take 2 to 3 minutes to use it. So we just finished with the benchmark, and Forza Horizon suggests on low settings, which is not really that good considering it was reaching a minimum of 67 FPS, an average of 81. So it can run Forza Horizon at high settings at 60 FPS, which is good considering you wouldn't want to go any higher. It maxed out on VRAM on high settings, so anything higher than a high preset, you'll probably stutter a lot because it encountered 5 stuttering and achieved 60 FPS. So it can run games pretty well, just not like high texture quality. You need more VRAM. The PCIe 3.0 was good, but you're not going to reach the card's full potential. You need PCIe 4.0 to max out as much frames as you can out of the card. So if you do have a PCIe 3.0 motherboard, then you can get the card, but do bear in mind they're not achieving the full performance. You can't reach 60 FPS on most games. Just do not upscale the texture quality. If PCIe 4.0 is good, you will reach the card's maximum potential. So yeah, you would buy this if you're just an average gamer who's going to go home and just play video games, and yeah. Unless you're 3D editing and rendering, this card is not for you.